Hey, what's up? It's Cam Peterson. Thanks for watching MotoAmerica on YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow all of our content.
It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA/FIM North American Road Race Championship. The MotoAmerica Superbikes at Atlanta for Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta here in Braselton, Georgia, as we are getting ready for our first Supersport race of the 2022 season. And there are a lot of new faces in this class, new motorcycles, and we don't have a former Supersport champion. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast booth. I'm Greg White, standing alongside Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, it has been very interesting here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta because we have, three different manufacturers in the front row?
Yeah, we got three different manufacturers out of five starting today. So we've got Suzuki's and Ducatis and Kawasaki's and things, so as well as the Yamaha. So we know that's been a proven brand in the past. We
are now in what we call next generation motorcycles. So we're in a transition period with World Supersport. And Jason, this is a Ducati Panigale V2, a 955 twin, and you think to yourself, how can it possibly be racing against inline four cylinders?
Yeah, and we saw that bike very competitive, obviously, at Daytona with Josh Herrin. And then we're going to move over to the GSXR 750 of Sam Lockoff, one of our main contenders from last season. This year with the rules, they're able to run this GSXR 750.
With these next generation bikes, a lot of these motorcycles are now going to be available with a controllable ECU. So balancing this Kawasaki ZX6R is one of our older generation bikes trying to make the transition. And the Yamaha R6 isn't a motorcycle that's being made broadly across the world, Jason, but still very competitive.
Yeah, very competitive. And we saw all these bikes leading at Daytona. We saw a bunch of them, as well as a Triumph, obviously, that came across and won the race there with Brandon Posh. So we're looking for some new winners this year. We haven't had a Supersport champion in this class ever before, and we've got a whole new set of bikes and a new set of rules.
But Jason, when you look across the table, if you look at, we haven't had a Supersport champion, but we've had a lot of champions. Josh Herrin's got two in his career. Tyler Scott coming off Junior Cup. Rocco Landers with three, and Benjamin Smith with one.
Yeah, and you look at that 2021 Junior Cup there with Tyler Scott. He has been more than impressive here right off the bat in Atlanta. It's great, Greg, because we've had perfect weather for both days so far. So these guys have got some good, solid, dry track time, and everyone's kind of showing their cards so far.
And Jay, the most talked about rider, I think, in the Supersport field has to be Josh Herrin.
Yeah, no question. I mean, this guy comes from so much experience, a Superbike champion. We've seen him bounce around, and you know what? When I go out and I watch him on this bike, he just fits it. He fits this bike so well. Even yesterday, watching him in those first couple practice sessions and qualifying sessions, he looked great. Now, saying that, he did have a problem yesterday where he tipped off coming out of turn 5, but he was right back up on it this morning and ready to go and gets our pole position.
Let's get down to Hannah, who's on the grid with Josh Herrin. Hi, Hannah Lopa.
Greg and Jason, as you mentioned, Josh Herrin is no stranger to road racing and a fan favorite in our paddock, but there's so many new things for him this year. A new team, new competitors, a new motorcycle. Josh, with all of those factors in mind, what are your expectations for the season ahead?
I mean, I'm hoping to get some wins, that's for sure. That's all of us are up here for, is to try to win. So, you know, I've always had the most fun in Supersport class. Of course, Superbikes are fun to be on. It's the top class, but Supersport for me is where the enjoyment comes. You know, I feel at one with the motorcycle and just enjoy riding it. So I'm real grateful for the Ducati team putting me on this bike this year. And like I told them last year, I just want to have fun this year. That's what it's all about. The crew's been fun to be around. It's cool seeing the Ducati love in the pits and on social media. And like I said, most important thing is to have fun. So we're going to go out here today, try to have a good, clean race, and yeah, scrap it up with these guys and have a good time and hopefully end up on top at the end.
Have a good race, Josh. Thanks. Let's get over to Jamie.
Well, Hannah, Josh Herrin's not the only champion caliber driver. We've already talked about it. Our 2021 STG Junior Cup champion, Tyler Scott, makes the move to Supersport. Now, last season, he had 11 victories, including one here in Atlanta. But this is a brand new challenge for you. It's the first weekend you've been aboard the Suzuki, the first weekend with this team. What's the biggest challenge you have?
The biggest challenge was getting adapted to the bike and the power. But I feel really great going into the race, and I think we could fight for the podium.
He already lines up in fourth, Greg.
Yeah, he certainly does, and he's got a lot of confidence, this young man. And I think the biggest thing, too, in talking, with him and the team around you on the Vision Wheel M4XR Suzuki team is he's a little quicker than they thought he would be. Let's take a look at the racetrack, Jason. 2.5 miles of up and down roller coaster.
Boy,
here,
it really is. It's a nice long run down to turn 1 to a very steep uphill. But by the time you get to that 2, 3, 4 area, Greg, you got to kind of get single file. Get yourself in line, and then your race can be run from there. Down through those fast S's. When you come out of turn 7, you're onto that big back straightaway that's so famous here at Road Atlanta, into some great passing zones into turn 10 and 11. Then you come up over that steep hill under the bridge, down into turn 12 for one last shot. If you're running second, that's your last place to have a go, to a very short run to the checkered flag.
We're going to step away. When we come back, we're going to be about 5 minutes away from racing. Rocco Landers. And how about this young man? Can he get it done today? Get on the box.
As the crews work with their riders, I'd like to welcome everybody here to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta and thank everybody for coming out. While you're here, go check out the MotoAmerica apparel. You can visit the official MotoAmerica merchandise trailer in the fan zone. They have everything you need, including shirts, hats, jackets, hoodies, masks, hand sanitizer, you name it, they got it, including Mission King of the Bagger apparel. Go check it out at MotoAmerica and their merchandise trailer. Whether it be 2 strokes, 4 strokes, for savings, get Geico for your motorcycle and ATV insurance. See how much money you could save on insurance for your street bike, dirt bike, ATV, UTV, and more at Geico Insurance. And Mission Foods, the world's leading brand for tortillas and wraps, welcomes you to the Superbikes at Atlanta and Mission King of the Baggers Racing. Mission Foods focuses on the highest quality, authentic flavors and providing healthy options for that families and friends can enjoy together. Oh, I like that look. We re-rack, restack, and went straight to Harley Davidson because they started back in 1903. Out of a small shed in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 4 young men lit a cultural wildfire that would grow and spread across geographies and generations. Their innovation and imagination for what was possible on 2 wheels sparked a transportation revolution and lifestyle that would make Harley Davidson the most desirable motorcycle brand in the world. Stop by the Harley Davidson display in the fan zone today. Dunlop Sport Max Q4 is the ultimate track day and club racing tire featuring quick warm-up. No tire warmers needed, in the same construction and compounds as Dunlop's full race tires used in MotoAmerica competition for maximum feel and grip. Made in the same factory on the same machines as the MotoAmerica race slicks. Dunlop is the official tire of MotoAmerica Racing. Visit DunlopMotorcycleTires.com to learn more about the ultimate track day performance. An Indian motorcycle, stop by the Indian booth and display for a free demo ride in the fan area. Indian Motorcycle Company, America's first motorcycle company, founded in 1901. America's most legendary and iconic brands through unrivaled racing dominance, engineered prowess, and countless innovations and industry firsts. If you're injured in a motorcycle accident, call Chuck at lawbike.com. Get the attention you deserve. Motorcycle accidents are their only business. You can always expect to speak to an attorney when you call. They've been putting those riders first for more than 25 years. Call Chuck at 866-LAWBIKE or go to lawbike.com for more information. Stop by Chuck's booth in the fan zone today. And Yamaha, recognized leader in power sports, offering motorcycles, scooters, ATVs, side-by-side vehicles, snowmobiles, personal watercraft, boats, and much more. Yamaha U.S. products are sold through a nationwide network of distributors and dealers in the United States. Stop by Yamaha and their display in the fan area today for a free demo ride. And Triumph Motorcycles. For 120 years, the most iconic British motorcycle brand. In 2022, we celebrate this landmark 120-year anniversary. Stop by the Triumph display in the fan zone area today for a free demo ride. Uh-oh, doesn't look good for the 17. Going to have to start on the side. We'll get more on that in a bit. We're going to send it over to the booth next door. MAV TV Live, and those watching on MotoAmerica Live Plus.
MotoAmerica Supersport coverage is sponsored by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series, and by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance.
Back here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, Supersport motorcycles on their way around this racetrack for their warm-up lap. We're going to grid and go, but Jason, this is one where we just don't know what to expect. Qualifying was so close. Look at the margin between Josh Herrin, Benjamin Smith, and Rocco Landers.
Yeah, Rocco thought he had pole, and then those other 2 guys came through right at the end of that session. Tyler Scott, amazing, like I said, in 4th with Max Engels. Lockoff on a whole new machine for him. They've been kind of almost testing this weekend. They've had some trouble, but he's got up, getting closer to speed. Olmedo, Chad Lewin, Diego Perez, Nassani, Luke Power, and then we got Thermiotis on the outside there, row 4 with Saltiz, Jones, LaRoche, Liam Grant, Patrick Coleman, and Zaragoza are going to be just outside of row 6. Blackall, Ivy, Medina, Burdett, Patnode, and Chris Sabora. And then we got Jonathan Swagger there at the the background row 9, Greg. But yeah, you know, I think on paper, you got some ideas of who you think are going to be there. But yeah, that's why we were on the races.
Yeah, and of course, with the next generation Supersport motorcycles, the idea is to take machines of different displacements. Of course, the Triumph 765 won Daytona under the same rules package. But it's about balancing these older motorcycles like the Kawasaki ZX6R, which doesn't have all the electronic whiz-bang gadgets. Now you look at this motorcycle of Josh Herrin right here, Jay, and when you're looking at the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati New York Panigale V2, one thing to note is it's not a superbike. I mean, there are no electronics on this thing. There's no traction control. There's no wheelie control. It's still all about Josh's right wrist. But of course, electronically, they have controlled this motorcycle and tried to level the playing field in terms of what's positive with this bike and the negatives as well.
And we'll be able to get into some of that as the year goes on and as the weekend goes on. Let's get ready for this first start. Supersport 2022.
18 laps. Revs are up, and we're racing. And off to turn number 1. Josh Herrin, right part of your screen on the number 2. And it looks like he got a nice launch. And how about the 64 of Max Angles on the Kawasaki in second spot?
It is like to have that big of a lead going into turn 1. Herrin just timed that light perfect. Gets up the hill where he needs to be. He's got that clear track. This is the sketchy part, Greg. All these riders trying to get through this single file area on the first lap. It's good to see that they were all able to do that. But this is their worst nightmare, seeing that big red machine out front early. Angles is the early challenger. You see Rocco Landers there, Ben Smith, and I'm just trying to think. I think that's Olmedo right there. Kevin Olmedo is in 5th. So you've got these top 5 guys, but there's one guy getting away.
So Josh Herrin is trying to set sail. He hasn't had a flawless weekend. He crashed earlier this weekend in a vicious high side coming out of turn number 5. He's banged up, but he said overall he's okay. So Herrin down the back straightaway on the 955 Ducati.
And it looked like he already had a quick little look over his shoulder. He knows he's on a flyer right off the bat. He's going to see that he'd opened up that half a second on Angles. He doesn't see the main challengers that were lined up alongside of him on that front row. So he doesn't see them now as Rocco Landers takes a stab and gets up underneath Angles as they go down into turn 10 for the first lap. He's going to hold that position as he goes up under the bridge now. So the 97 trying to make that run to try to bridge that gap to Herrin first.
Rocco Landers out of Burns, Oregon on that Landers Racing Yamaha R6. Has the most national championships to his credit in this class. He's got 3 of them, making the step last year into Supersport, and it looks like Landers in the offseason has made quite a jump in speed in this category.
Ben Smith now slides up on Angles, and Olmedo's having a look to the inside of Angles. Something just happened to Rocco Landers. He got his arm up just in time, Greg. Did you see?
Wow.
The fact that none of these...
Oh, rider down.
Now we got a rider down.
Well, this is dangerous.
This is where it gets bad here. This is going to be Ty Scott. That bike's laying right smack in the middle of the track. There's debris and stuff everywhere. I got to wonder if he didn't get caught. Yeah, there's fluid down as well. I wouldn't be surprised if this was kind of a reaction from the fact that Rocco Landers threw his arm up early. It looked like Rocco had a problem, headed up the hill, and there's stuff all over the track. You can see this race will most likely be red flag, Greg, because there's a big ton of fluid all over the track.
So the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki rider, Tyler Scott, in his race debut, down and out on the GSXR 600. Red flag is out and race stoppage, so it's going to take MotoAmerica a little while to sort this situation out.
So obviously Ty Scott didn't get the best start because we didn't see him up there, but when Rocco Landers came up out of turn 1, as he started to accelerate up that hill, and probably the worst spot, you're going to have a look. Well, this is a little bit further down track now. We're going to have a look and see if we, there you go. Ty Scott looks like
he got in the back.
Yeah, it looks like he got, he got in the back of, I'm not sure who that was. Did he got in the back of there?
Was that Perez possibly?
Could have been.
So here comes Josh Herrin. He's leading the race. He's coming through. Then Ben Smith on the 88. And, yeah, it's the 35 of Perez.
Diego Perez.
And, he just got in the back of him, and then that caused that incident. And then, of course, when the bike's down, it starts leaking fluid onto the racetrack, and now
that's a bad spot for it, too, to have that much fluid on the track there. And the thing was, Greg, is as they were going up that hill, Rocco threw his arm up because he had obviously had a problem. So we'll see if the 97 was able to get that bike back to pit lane. But he had an issue, and then everybody right behind him kind of checked up. So we'll have to see if we get another replay of that going up the hill in a minute. You'll see where Rocco kind of threw his arm up. Glad everybody looks like they're up and okay, though, here.
Yeah, for Tyler Scott, I mean, he's really touted, Jason, as one of the fastest up-and-coming riders. And for Scott, he actually, has done quite a bit of riding on these larger displacement motorcycles at a couple different tracks around the country. And for Tyler Scott, it's a not the debut he was looking for on the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki. But really, I would say a huge disappointment at this point is going to be, Josh Herrin and the lead that he had built early on. And so Josh Herrin on that Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati New York Panigale V2 is going to lose that lead, as we will get word from MotoAmerica as they take a look at the situation, to kind of take a look at how long this cleanup is going to be to determine how many laps will remain in this race.
It's really interesting, Greg, because Rocco was able to get this bike back to the pits, but it doesn't look like they're working on anything too frantic. Now you're going to see this battle for second. Benjamin Smith goes up underneath Engels. Olmedo there is in fifth. Rocco starts going up the hill, and I'm not sure if he loses power or, I mean, this is so close. You don't even know how close that is, and good for Rocco to get his arm up and move over to the right. Now he's got that bike back, but it doesn't look like they're working on it too feverishly. You can see Rocco looking down at it.
They're looking at something definitely, though. Stoney, his dad, on the left part of the screen looking at it. There's Josh Herrin, as he had a great start to this race. We're going to step away for a moment, but we'll have more coverage of Supersport for Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta on the other side.
Robbie Floyd and Roger Hayden here with you as the Landers Racing crew looking at Rocco's bike. Now, I don't know if it had anything to do with the quick shifter, but I know he had some issues with it on day one. And talking with Stoney last night, he said, we got things sorted, because I went to talk to him. He said we went back to something, I think, a different thing they had. So I'm not sure if that is the case or something issue. It looked like I saw him up there messing with the clutch just a moment ago. Putting some of that quick dry down there, Roger, that oil dry, because whether it's water or oil, either way, it's a bad thing in that part. Now, that particular portion of the course, when we saw Ty Scott, you mentioned that area. It's hard to see where you're going when you're behind somebody like that. And when they start checking up and you really close in, I don't know what you can even do, really.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if maybe they all kind of got choked up because of Rocco. But, yeah, when you're up there, it's that section there, when you come up over that hill there, when you're behind, you cannot see. You can't see the edge of the track. And then also with Tyler Scott, he did get in the back of somebody, but it was just kind of hard to – you see how they come up in here into turn two, coming in the screen now, and it just looks like maybe he tried to make the pass and
got closed off.
Ran out of room.
But also,
and there goes Rocco too. So I don't know if somebody moved as well. So luckily he's up and okay, but definitely not the start that he wanted to his Supersport career. But for him, the biggest thing is he's going to miss out on the race to learn and feel what the tires are going to be like toward the end of the race, and what his body's going to feel like at the end of the race, because he's used to the Junior Cup, which is a lighter bike, shorter races,
laps, right?
And so, yeah, he's going to miss out on that big learning opportunity.
In that particular instance, too, they had just passed, and again, the rider they got into was Diego Perez, the 35 Yamaha. They had just passed Rocco Landers. Rocco, when he raised his hand, basically saying, "Have lost power, I got it." And at that point, I don't think Rocco can't run across the grass. He still had to negotiate those turns, but they had just gotten by him. But again, it still could have some of that accordion effect.
And you could see it choked up the guys in second, third, fourth, and fifth. But when you're going up there, it's one line. When the guy in the front of the group has an issue, then everybody behind him kind of has to scatter out.
They're looking at something on that right-hand side. Again, our camera crew's trying to get you all the scoop, and I saw him with the clutch lever. That may be where the cable and or the stuff enters through the cases on that side. But again, we're going to get back to race as soon as they can get the track clear. And how far back do they go? It's still showing 18 laps to go, so they're still going to re-rack and restack a full field with Herrin on the pole.
All hands on deck to try to clear up the spill. Top of turn two, I guess you could say.
Down turn three, right before they start heading down into the S's. Lucky that bike didn't collect anyone, really, Greg, because our field was still so tightly together.
Yeah, well, we saw Rocco Landers throw his hands in the air, so Hannah's with him right now. Hannah?
Greg, for Rocco Landers, he was able to escape Tyler Scott and not get collected up in that crash unscathed, but he was having kind of a problem. Rocco, we saw you put your hand up out there. Tell us what you were feeling on the bike and what exactly you were experiencing.
So that was just completely just a mistake on my part. I was doing some adjustments on the controls, and I just hit the kill switch, and thank God I caught it really quick. I was still made a decent start, almost hit Tyler after he went down, but I'm actually super confident right now. I feel really good. Cool as a cucumber trying to get some.
Now that you have another opportunity to restart the race, does it change your strategy at all after experiencing the first start of the season?
Absolutely the same strategy. Just try to go with Josh in the beginning and make some passes. Try to get the win today. That's my goal.
Thanks, Rocco. Let's get over to Jamie.
Well, Benjamin Smith started this race. You said you got a decent launch. Some other riders around you got a better launch. What can you do when we go back out racing to improve your conditions?
Yeah, just got to focus on that start. Really want to get off the line good and go with Josh out front, but made a couple passes quick in the beginning and had to make some maneuvers there at the top of the hill. But yeah, it felt good for the first couple laps, so we'll see how this restart shakes out.
When we talked pre-race, it's all about confidence and the consistency of the program. What are your expectations for this 2022 season?
I want to be up front fighting for wins. I mean, that's what we've been up front all weekend so far, so I want to be right there battling for the wins.
Let's go back to green. We're going to have 13 laps, an original grid, we're being told.
All right, yeah, so there's the story. So the race was originally scheduled for 18, obviously with red flag conditions and a packed schedule here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta for MotoAmerica. We're going to reduce this race to 13 laps. And Jason, Benjamin Smith has been cooking all weekend long. I mean, he's been very fast, as has his motorcycle. A lot of people thought the Ducati was going to come here and have the longest legs on the back straightaway, but the Yamaha R6 has proven to be extremely fast.
No, there's no question. And I think that Benjamin's at that age right now. His third year on 600s. Won that Junior Cup, I think KTM Junior Cup probably 4 or 5 years ago now. So he's made that jump, and he's almost like one of the veterans now of the class because 4 years in, he's gone through the trials and tribulations. He knows what it takes to win. He's got the pace. Now we just got to see that consistency, and we got to see fewer of those little small mistakes that we've seen him make. And I think he's ready for a great year. I think he's done a really nice job so far this weekend.
So for Tyler Scott, the question is he going to be able to restart? And you could see, Jason, like the team isn't frantically working on the bike because not only do you have any controls that are a problem, but how much of the fluid from the motorcycle ended up hitting the deck there.
There's a lot of it. And it's just it's too bad because it's in such a bad spot on the racetrack. This is a spot where guys are going to be coming out of that right-hander leaned over, and they're going to be going right through kind of where that area is. So the bike went out onto the grass and then started flipping, and probably that first big hit is what caused all that fluid.
Yeah, so we're hearing actually from MotoAmerica that Tyler Scott is officially withdrawn from the race, and I mean it just makes a lot of sense. There's not going to be a lot of time here as we expect pit lane to open in a couple of minutes. So they're going to be looking towards tomorrow for the Vision Wheel M4XR Suzuki rider. Another look at it, JP.
You can see Rocco's over to the left. And it doesn't look like anybody's really done anything too wild here. And then it looks like Ty Scott just gets into the back of Diego there as they get to the top. Now, this is a really scary part right here for Tyler because he knows he's sliding back into a track where there's a whole field of motorcycles behind him. So I'm happy to see him up and okay. But, yeah, Greg, if that bike could have just slid another, say, 15 feet, we'd probably be getting ready to go back to green already. But you can see the bike gets here, flips, and that big hit there is probably what causes all this fluid to go onto the track.
Jamie?
Well, Tyler Scott's bike is parked on pit lane. You said he officially has withdrawn from this race. Tyler, we've watched the replays over and over. Explain what happened.
Yeah, so we were going up turn 1, and Rocco had a bike issue or something, so I pulled right aside. I don't know who it was. Pulled right aside and then kind of just got pinched off in the first curbing, and just bad place at the bad time, so.
You've got another race tomorrow. In the 2 laps that you were out on the bike, any changes or improvements that you can make for race 2?
Now we're just going to try to be in a better position tomorrow and work a little bit slower to get to the front, but the bike felt good.
It's an experience thing, really, is all it is. He's 16 years old. He's been doing dirt track this year. A tremendous champion last year. But, Greg, when you go up into turn 2, 3 here, it gets very, very single-lined. And if you just miss your spot just a little bit, that's the kind of stuff that can happen. He'll learn from this. He'll be better tomorrow.
Coming off of a jackrabbit start is the number 2 Josh Herron, and he's with Hannah right now.
Greg, you're absolutely right. A heck of a start for Josh Herron. Unfortunate red flag situation here. Josh, how are you planning to replicate that start that you just had?
I don't know. I got lucky. Hopefully we get another clean start like that and we can get a little lead because it felt good. It was just, unfortunate that the race got stopped. But, hopefully we can do it again. Bike's running really good. We got a little tailwind going into 10A, so you got to be careful there. But other than that, it's good. Just yeah, pumped to be racing this thing again. We left Daytona, you know, a little bit bummed out, so I'm happy to be here and try to get a win for these guys.
Now the rest of the field also has the opportunity to restart the race. If someone is able to hang on to you, does that change your strategy going into those first couple of turns?
Yeah, my butt's going to pucker a little more than it would the first start, but we'll be all right.
All right, Josh, best of luck out there, guys.
He's got a lot of experience. That's, you know, I think he's being funny because, you know, Herron's not really worried about anybody, I don't think. He's just going to go run his own race. He's going to try to hit his marks. He's got a good bike, good team underneath him, Greg, and the disappointment of Daytona will soon fade as soon as they get that result that they want.
But, Jason, the question mark, I think, as I'm sitting here thinking about it with this Panigale V2 is it doesn't have a lot of experience racing either, you know, in World Supersport or here. How many starts does this clutch have?
Yeah, and he got such a great start on that last one. You know, it's just that's just going to be stuff that we're going to have to wait and see. We've not seen this bike race before. Now over in World Supersport, we saw them race at Aragon last weekend or 2 weekends ago, I believe, and it wasn't as competitive as I think everybody thought it was going to be. So they're doing a bit of a rethink over there. And over here, you can see Herron and this team have done a great job to get this bike running up front, pole position in our first race of the season.
A look at Jared Nissaney on the Altus Motorsports bike having a go at it. Jason, a moment ago we saw the 44 of Sam Lockoff, who's on the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki, and the biggest news about that particular program is that new for 2022 in this next generation bikes that are homologated, it was brought up in the offseason that the GSXR 750, which is a motorcycle that's been around for a long, long time, also a motorcycle, it's fuel injected, but basically when you twist the throttle, you're pulling cables, opening up a throttle body, and some modifications are allowed to this motorcycle that make it throttle by wire, so it's next generation. And for the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki team, they're the test bed for the world for the GSXR 750, and it's the first time we're getting to see that bike in action.
Yeah, and it's, you know, for me, Sam Lockoff is a title favorite this year. So for him to come here on a brand new bike and one that I don't believe they've got a ton of testing on, and we know they've had some small teething issues this weekend so far, and I think just getting this first race under the belt for them is going to be important with the hopes that, you know, if he can get that top 5, top 3 spot and just get those points going, I think that's going to be key. You know, they've probably had a few more little issues down here than I think that they would have wanted. But again, let's get this bike, let's give it a chance. We know the benefits of what this bike can be once it gets sorted out. And he's got a great team around him down there that will help him do that.
Let's get down to Jamie, who has, I was just talking about the 59, Jared Nissaney.
Yes, and Jarrett, you've got to get your helmet on. You're ready to go back out on for a second shot at this race. It'll be 13 laps. How does that change the strategy overall?
Yeah, so it's just make sure we got to push harder for even longer now. Everyone's not going to settle into that pace as quick, so it's be a lot more charging.
You got a taste of what the bike has here in these race conditions. What do you have to fight with?
We got a lot. I'm super stoked with what the team brought this weekend. This new motor is super strong, and our team killed it with this motor, so it's going to be a good one.
There's a lot of confidence in there. I like it.
Ran into him last night, Jamie, at dinner with Jarrett, and we talked about a few things. He was actually quietly confident and finding some setup things that he tried this morning. So, you know, hopefully he can get himself up there in that fight as well. He talked to me a little bit about getting in the draft of that Ducati of Herron. As we see, it looks like Kevin Olmedo.
And Jay, we just 11 laps now for this race as the cleanup continues. Let's go to Hannah with Kevin.
Kevin Olmedo with N2 Racing on the Yamaha this season. Kevin, take me through the start of their race. Is there anything that you'd like to do differently on this restart?
Well, I feel that it was really good to start. I feel strong on this track. I really like, and the team works a lot on the bike. From 7th place, I went to the 4th place, so I'm really happy with that. But I know that the race is going to be long. It's going to be some laps, so I want to continue the consistency, and I hope to have another good start and stay with that group. We need that some points, so it's going to be important for the championship.
Now, who's your friend right here? Tell us about this guy.
So it's the Torito. It's my logo.
Team mascot for Kevin Olmedo. Good luck on the restart, guys.
See if Kevin Olmedo can get a KO, a knockout in this race. And Jason, we've talked about Kevin Olmedo, and I think really for us, it's time for Kevin to make the step that we know he's able to take. And with this N2 Racing bobblehead moto team, this might be the year. Cleanup continues. We'll be back in a moment.
Well, Roger Hayden, I don't know what fluid was laid down on the track, but they had to reapply the track dry stuff. Whatever it was must have been pretty nasty because, again, they put it down, dried it off, and they had to reapply it out there. So that's what's taking the extended time. So kind of some cerebral flatulence for Rocco Lander. He said it was my fault. I hit the kill switch. So he was trying to dial in something. Maybe he had the setup for the starts, maybe electronically, and he's trying to get it into race mode. Or what do you think happened there?
Or also, too, you know, maybe he was adjusting the front brake or clutch. And there's also – you just never know what it could have been. But luckily for him, he figured it out really quick. And, it would have ruined his race.
Yeah.
But the red flag come out, and now he gets another opportunity.
Yeah, unfortunate for Ty Scott, and he said it kind of indirectly, but the wrong place at the wrong time, and that was the case. But Rocco Landers had a good start, something we are not used to seeing out of Rocco Landers. I wonder if Josh Hayes been working with him on his starts.
I would assume Josh has worked with him on his starts because he knows how important it is. You can't let a guy like Josh Herron get a really good start, and you have to work your way up from 5th or 6th, and then he's got a 2 or 3 second lead. You can't let the good guys like that get away, and so I think he realized how important that is, and he worked on a lot of stuff this off season, and I think that's one of them. Like just mentally being ready to go when that light goes out is something you got to have those instincts.
Yeah, and we've seen it, and we heard in the interview with Josh Hayes earlier, who's been working. If you're not familiar with that, he's been working with him this year and recently. He's talking about how he had to change his riding style, but also some mental approaches and the way that he does things. Because Rocco Landers had been fast, but putting all those laps together, something we saw very seldom last year in his debut in Supersport. A couple of opportunities now for Ben Smith, a little less laps. They've went from 18 to 13, and now it looks like we're seeing 11 laps to go. Ben Smith, you can see that almost look at his eye, like I don't care. It may be Josh Herron that's in front of me, but I'm here to win. I want to win now.
Yeah, and not sure who that is there. Is that 17?
Yeah, I think it is. That should be Medina, Roberto Hernan Medina from Argentina on the Tango Racing entry, and he looks like he's trying to get it over that crest so he could bump start it, but that's one of the Argentine riders and not what our Star Plus crew wanted to see, so the Latin American fans might have one less guy to cheer for. Kevin Olmedo has that nice bull there, though, the KO bull. So is he El Toro now?
The Lucky Charm.
El Toro Olmedo. So, yeah, unfortunately for the Argentine, he's cruising to a halt on that Tango Racing entry. So, again, for those of you watching on MotoAmerica Live Plus, we're going to send it back over next door to Jason Pridmore, Greg White, Hannah, and Jamie. They take it over for this race. Let's hope they can finish.
Welcome back. Round 1, race 1 here in Supersport Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Under red flag conditions for our Supersport category. And Josh Herron still remains on pole position. And here's how we got here. Jason Pridmore up at the top of the hill, there was an incident. And this is how it unfolded.
Yeah, just a small little chain reaction of events that happened here. And you can see Ty Scott just gets in the back of Diego Perez. Spike flips through the grass, smashes itself onto the concrete, and that's why we're in the position we're in. Ty Scott, very lucky not to get hit by another rider. But, the good news, these guys have gone out, Greg. The workers here at MotoAmerica did a tremendous job, all the corner workers and things out there, to clear that track up. If there would have been a problem, these guys would have definitely not gridded back up without telling somebody. So it's good to know that they have gone through that stuff. And track should be safe and clean to run.
Warm-up lap number 2. This race was scheduled for 18. Now we're at 11 laps. Once we come around, get the grid formed up, and our red lights go out. So just to remind you what the grid looks like, it's Josh Herron on pole, Benjamin Smith, and Rocco Landers on row number 1, JP.
Yep, Ty Scott will be a scratch now. Max Engels and Lockoff are going to be on that row number 2 by themselves. Olmedo, Lewin, Perez, Nassani, who we heard from, Power, Thermiotis on the outside there. Soltis, Jones, LaRoche, Liam Grant, Patrick Coleman, and Zaragoza. We got Blackall, Ivy, Medina, Burdett, Patnood, Chris Sabaro from up in the Pacific Northwest, and Jonathan Schweiger rounds out our field.
So, Jason, looking at this, the question for us is the Ducati Panigale V2. How many starts does it have in the clutch? We know that most of these motorcycles on the grid are proven. Now, it looks like there's one racer, the 17 bike, that's sitting there. That's Patrick Coleman. So I don't think they're able to get that bike.
Make it. Doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like Coleman's going to be able to get his motorcycle going again on that Tango Racing ZX6R. A look at the tower where we're located, actually, commentating this race. Now, Jason, talk about us through the mentality. How do you put this red flag out of your brain after getting keyed up all day for this moment?
I think it actually makes you feel a little bit more relaxed because you've kind of already been through it. You've made it through that first turn. All these riders have. For Herrin, he's got to be excited to have gotten as great of a start as he did. Really nice launch from him. I think there's going to be a couple other guys that are going to want to improve on that start. Rocco's going to be one of them, probably Olmedo as well. Try to get themselves up there. Benjamin Smith, too. You heard him say he had to make a couple passes as we get a look at him. But Fields got themselves back around. They've gone and done a siding lap, a warm-up lap. You see the green flag in the back there, Greg. We're going to clear everybody off when we get that run to turn 1 again. Let's get up through turn 2 and 3 safely.
So race 1 getting ready to start again. When you see those red lights go off, we're racing. Here we go. Josh Herrin, another good launch. A little choppy, but look at the distance he's able to put on the rest of the field.
Boy, you called that. It was a little bit choppy, but he got off. And how about Lockoff? What a start for him. This is right where Sam wants to be. Now, he hasn't really been sort of on pace all weekend. So we're going to see now if Lockoff on that GSX-R 750. I'm excited to see these two bikes go down the back straightaway together and see how they kind of pan themselves out as the field makes it through the spot, Greg, that we had that incident, and then the famous S's here at Road Atlanta as they go up to turn 5. Not quite as big of a gap for Herrin as there was the first time. So we'll see if these guys in 2nd through 5th, 6th can close that gap up.
Josh Herrin leading us into turn number 6. Sam Lockoff in 2nd on the 44. So here we go through turn number 7. The all-important drive and run onto the back straightaway. As Herrin has a look over his shoulder just to check the gap again. So it's Lockoff, the 44, and then Rocco Landers right behind him.
And I'm going to say that's probably the guy he didn't want to see. He probably felt a lot more comfortable when he didn't see anybody that would be like main title contenders. And you can see that GSX-R 750, Greg, is able to draft up to that Ducati as Lockoff already looks like he wants to take a shot. You can see Rocco Landers there, Benjamin Smith, Angles, Olmedo now trying to get through on Chad Lewin, another guy that I've got to see quite a bit of this winter riding, number 33. Good to see Chad Lewin back in MotoAmerica, running right there with the guys that have been racing for the last few years.
That Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki GSX-R 750, kitted with this throttle-by-wire system, had been tested by Richie Escalante, who's their Superbike rider recently, and he liked it, but there's still issues they're working out with this motorcycle. I mean, it's a brand new way to control the motorcycle. As for this Panigale V2, Ducati's been working on it at the world level, getting all that information, and Herrin's making the most of it.
Yeah, and you look at him go through that top section as clean as you like. He hits all those marks absolutely perfectly, and that's why you're going to be able to see this small gap. They're going to be coming up over the top of turn 5, a place yesterday where Herrin found himself sliding behind his motorcycle. Good to see that he was okay. These laps for Lockoff right now are so crucial and so key because he's learning a lot. This is his time now. He's gotten close to that Ducati to see where his deficiencies are going to be. That battle between Angles and Lewin and Kevin Olmedo is going to fight on. Rocco Landers and Ben Smith are trying to go with that 750 of Lockoff.
Sam Lockoff in a nice tight tuck, and here's a battle of Yamaha R6s as Landers goes up the inside. And then kicking down the hill. Oh, and a bike down. They're heading into turn number 10.
Tony Blackall, that's turn 5. That's going to be coming up over the top of the hill. It looks like. I'm just trying to see, Greg, but that's maybe it's not where it is it?
No,
is
it might.
Turn 7?
No, that looked like. Yeah, it's really hard to tell. But
yeah, hard to see that one.
There's enough racetrack between the lead of this race and where that incident is that maybe that rider will be able to pick up the bike. No fluid on the racetrack that we saw. So you have Herrin leading the way over Lockoff on that new generation GSX-R 750. Quite the story, as now it looks like Benjamin Smith is starting to make a break from Rocco Landers. So Smith, who's been close to the top of the time sheets all weekend and barely missed out on pole position. He's having a great run. It could be the year of Benjamin Smith on that Yamaha R6. So the number 88 on that Northeast Cycle Outlet Racing motorcycle, having a good run. And Jay, as we look back, Chad Lewin is with Kevin Olmedo and Diego Perez.
That was on the exit of turn 5. You can see the yellow flags there. Jamie?
You're talking about Benjamin Smith, and one of the things at the end of 2021 that he was really working on was getting his race pace all the way to the finish of the race. He said that he wasn't able to manage the tire very well, but that was what he was working on, and all throughout this weekend he did his practice and qualifying on the race tire, and he feels a lot more confident about getting to the end of the race. Of course, it's been shortened down now, but he's got to push a lot harder. He's got to be more aggressive for these 11 laps that we have to the checkered flag, but he's feeling very confident in everything that they have underneath him.
And Benjamin Smith is pushing very hard. He just set the fastest Sector 1 split time and a personal best for himself in Sector number 2. So Benjamin Smith is working on the fastest lap of the race so far in this race. Right now it's a 29.448 for Josh Herron, and Herron just goes 29.3, and Benjamin Smith even quicker at a 29.1.
Yeah, and this is what's so great about the class the way it is now. You have two guys up on the front that are on bikes that we haven't seen in the class before. We got Benjamin Smith on a bike that he's very familiar with a team he's very familiar with, and this kid's ready to step it up, Greg. As you can see, some dirt getting kicked up there. It's a really nice job from Benjamin Smith running that 29.1. He had to do a little bit of work to get by Rocco, but you can see things have settled down here. Nobody's really jumping away and getting away, but there's one guy on the charge. That's the 88 of Benjamin Smith right now. He's trying to get that gap dwindled down. It'll be interesting. Again, another thing that we'll have to look for, can he get in the draft to that 750 if he gets a good drive out of turn 7?
Now keep in mind, this is a GSXR 750, that Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki, which Benjamin Smith is trying to chase down. It is electronically controlled to balance the motorcycle. So if you're looking at stock horsepower numbers of an R6 to a GSXR 750, thinking to yourself, well, wait a second, how is this possible? There are rules in place set by the FIM and MotoAmerica that are allowing these motorcycles to compete to a balanced playing field. And of course, that will continue as the class develops. Nice battle going on here between Kevin Olmedo on the 16, Chad Lewin on the 33, and number 35, welcome to MotoAmerica, Diego Perez.
Yeah, but you got to laugh a little bit about this. I don't know Diego at all, so I'm looking forward to getting to know him more. Chad Lewin, on the other hand, Chad is a very successful real estate agent in California who just cannot get the racing out of his system. He's retired a couple times, he's come back a couple times, and you can see him now battling with these young kids in Kevin Olmedo. I'm expecting to see the 33 around all year, and we'll see how that works out for Chad in this race. But right now, Greg, he's battling for top 5.
Jason, it looks like Chad is really putting some pressure on Kevin Olmedo. You know, they did test Kevin Olmedo and had some training at Homestead. He's really comfortable with the team. Kevin raced Daytona with them last year and again this year, and it's just really great rapport. He really wanted to get a good start to stay with that front group, but overall he's really comfortable with the bike, and he thinks that will be very consistent throughout the entirety of this race.
I did spend some time with Diego Perez earlier today, and English is certainly not his first language, but it's a challenge that he's looking forward to for the full season. So you will get a chance to know him, Jason, but he said here at Road Atlanta, this is one of the biggest challenges that he's ever had. This racetrack, he said, it's so fast, but it's so difficult to learn, and he's also trying to learn the attitudes of all of the other riders in the Supersport category. So look for bigger things from him throughout the season. He's already inside of the top 10, has been all weekend long, but this is a big learning curve.
Yeah, we're talking about the number 35, Perez, on the PDR Motorsports Yamaha R6, a Spaniard rider who spent last year the FIM CEV Moto2 European Championship, where he finished 13th, had a best finish of 9th, Jason.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny because the whole time I've seen this guy's name all week, and I'm like, I know I've just seen it recently. One of my teammates that I used to race World Endurance with, Pedro Balcaneres, actually texted me this week. I haven't heard from Pedro in a while. He says, Jason, a very close friend of mine, Diego Perez, is coming to race MotoAmerica, and here he is, Greg. Now he has got himself up onto the back of Chad Lewin, so really good to see the 35 of Diego Perez doing as well as he is.
First trip to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, first MotoAmerica round, first go at these American-made Dunlops, and Perez doing a great job representing Spain, and he is right there on the back of Chad Lewin. He's in 7th place, is the 35, trying to get into 6th.
Yeah, it's a nice effort for him, and you know, like you said, Greg, they've put a good motorcycle into this young man, so he's doing a tremendous job just keeping up there with some of the regulars of the series, and he's going to get to go to a bunch of new racetracks.
So Josh Herrin continues to lead the way, 0.7 of a second ahead of Sam Lockoff. Benjamin Smith in third, Rocco Landers in fourth, Kevin Olmedo in fifth. There's a look at the gap between the number 2 and the number 44, as well as the 88 in third. The distinctive twin note of that Panigale V2, Josh Herrin, who got hired in the offseason after coming off of a superbike. And with this Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati New York team, all the pressure has been put on Herrin to perform here in the United States on this newly homologated Panigale V2. And Jason, so far this kickoff is looking really good for Herrin.
Hey, we're right. He's right where we kind of thought Josh would be. I think that the team and the rider that's probably the most happy right now is that Vision Wheel team down there on that Suzuki GSX-R 750. This is going to be a big boost for them, having qualified, what was it, Greg, 6th? We don't expect to see Sam Lockoff in 6th. So for him to be there, they've obviously made some more adjustments. They've made Sam even more comfortable for this race. This is going to be good information for tomorrow, but for more than anything, they can see that leader right in front of them. And I think that if you'd asked them yesterday morning if that would be the case, they might have said maybe not as close as they are, but he's still pushing this Ducati along.
Even if you would have asked Sam Lockoff earlier today if they'd be up there, he would have told you no. He was able to put down one quick lap. That was what started the race in 6th position during the Q2 session this morning. But he said that was the sketchiest lap he'd ever done in his entire life. There was no way he could repeat that or ride that for the duration of the race. They made some huge chassis adjustments. And after we got this race started, when he was sitting on pit lane during the red flag, he said, finally, I can stay up with them. He is so much happier with this bike, and this is going to do nothing but propel them forward for race 2 tomorrow.
And just an incredible job the Vision Wheel M4XR Suzuki team has done because of the fact that this bike is brand new. I mean, the biggest thing is connecting that wiring harness to this throttle-by-wire system that just got done over the last week or so, Jason. So it's a huge task they're taking on, and they've been able to work on this bike. Now, I think one of the things that's helped is we've had perfect weather since we arrived on Friday, giving all the riders the most tip-top quality track time available, giving the teams the most information. And Jay, this race is not over by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, we don't know what the duration of the tires are for the V2. Keep in mind, during a red flag condition in MotoAmerica, you're not allowed to change tires. So these tires had one heat cycle on them with about a lap and a half on them. So as we get deep into this race, there's only about, just over 3 laps. His Lockoff, a bit of a mistake there, but he gathers it back up.
And that's really too bad, because I was just getting ready to say, Greg, he's closed that gap now where he's going to be able to get into the draft of that Ducati. Now he's going to have to do all that hard work again. In that first sector, Josh Herrin is so good at the top of the hill, and you can see on our screen there, Greg, 34.7, 34.8. He actually lost, I would say, 2 or 3 tenths there. So he was on his way to putting a good first sector together with Sam Lockoff, but that gap has opened back up again. A couple guys behind these two are actually going quicker than that first sector, Rocco Landers being one of them. But Greg, he was getting close, and when you said that this race isn't over yet, I was starting to think that we were going to see a challenge for the lead. Now, Lockoff's just got to get himself settled back down. Doesn't need to make it all up in one lap. Start chipping away. He could be there by the end of this race, no problem. And you can see they've just now started to drop Ben Smith. 29.2, 29.1 last time for the leaders. 29.7 for Benjamin Smith in third, and Rocco Landers as well in fourth.
But Jason, looking at Josh Herrin, the way he's riding this Ducati, how good does the Ducati look? I mean, it's planted. Everything looks like it's working the way he wants it to.
Yeah, and he's going to just be continuing to look over at his board, coming down this front straightaway, seeing what he's got. He's probably seen +1 now on his board for the better part of 5 or 6 laps. So you just have to continue to hit those marks. And you can see the one little mistake that Sam made up in the area that we're headed back up to right now on that last lap. When you get up through this section, it's important that you get the bike turned before you actually run over that paint. If you start turning the bike over the paint, then it becomes a little bit more sketch. And you can see, look how good of a job Herrin does at that top section of just gapping that a little bit.
And if you think it's all about Ducati horsepower in the back straightaway, I would probably say you're wrong. Last time by the stripe, Herrin 159.2 miles per hour down the back straightaway, but the GSX-R 750 of Sam Lockoff 162.2. So you have to look at the size of Lockoff versus Herrin. They're pretty close. I would say that Lockoff's a little bit smaller, so pretty evenly matched motorcycles with 3-mile-an-hour difference on the back straightaway. So Herrin isn't just doing it where people think a Ducati should be able to do it, pulling the trigger out of turn 7 back straightaway. He's doing it all over this racetrack.
And Greg, that half second that he just pulled in that first sector, that's where he's losing all of his time. I mean, that's a full half second. He has now dropped Sam, and Benjamin Smith now looks like he wants to close in. Now getting back to Benjamin Smith even here on the 88, there was a lot of races last year, Greg, where we saw him up front for the first 5 or 6 laps, and then he would go backwards, burn the rear tire off that bike. Obviously, he's doing a much nicer job today of keeping it close. This guy running up front right now on this lap, we're going to have a look at it when he comes through at 29.2, very consistent. Runs the fastest third sector of the entire race. He pulls out 1.2 seconds on that lap. It's Josh Herrin's race to lose now.
To set his personal fastest lap of the race this deep into the race is great for Josh Herrin. It's a good sign for how hard his team has been working to get this motorcycle up to snuff. Wow, very impressive. And you know, our eyes aren't just on Supersport in MotoAmerica here in the United States. The folks that run the World Supersport Superbike Series and World Supersport are looking at how evenly balanced these motorcycles are. And you might ask yourself, looking at this Ducati V2, how could it be racing against a GSXR 750? If you look at the GSXR 600, which has been running in Supersport for years, there's a lot of modifications that are allowed to the engine to give it more horsepower. When it comes to the GSXR 750, it's a stock motor. So teams are looking at it because they're saying, hey, wait a second, we can run a stock motor all year long and still be competitive.
Cost,
yeah,
right?
The cost of it all. And so it really opens things up. And for older guys like us that remember when Superbikes were 750s, having the GSXR 750 allowed to compete in Supersport, it's very exciting.
Yeah, well, it's exciting to have this Ducati ripping around too. I mean, you were kind enough to introduce me to Paulo Ciabatti at COTA, and they are very committed to this effort. And this Warhorse team, they've had some teething problems over the last year or so, but look what they've been able to accomplish so far with this motorcycle. And after their big win with this team, with Danilo Petrucci at COTA, now they're going to get this, hopefully, this first Supersport win under their belt early this season to kind of squash any speculation that there could have been out there about the reliability and some of the other things that are going on with this bike and this team. Really nice effort.
About 10 corners to go for Josh Herrin, as his gap is now increased to well over 3.5 seconds. And when push came to shove and Lockoff made that one mistake, just through the S's, Jason, that's when we see Lockoff start to go a little backwards. But nonetheless, the amount of data being collected for that Vision Wheel M4XR Suzuki team, critical in the continued development of that GSXR 750. But how about this too? I mean, this is information that's being fed to Ducati at the world scene back in Bologna on how Josh Herrin is doing with this motorcycle, the data they're going to be collecting it. And keep in mind, this is not a high-tech motorcycle like a Superbike with traction control and wheelie control. Josh Herrin is having to do this all out of raw talent himself with the great team around him in the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati New York team. Down into 10A and 10B goes Josh Herrin. He talked about it at the open of the program, that his goal this year was to have fun and win races. As he throws a wheel in the air and he'll head down into this final set of corners. It's Josh Herrin onto the front straightaway. A look over his shoulder, wheel in the air, stand-up wheelie, and the first victory of 2022 goes to Herrin and the Ducati. Coming across the line, Sam Lockoff on the 44 will take second. Benjamin Smith in third. Rocco Landers in fourth.
Great race. Rocco Landers was coming on hard there at the back end of that race. 29.6 for Landers. He closed within a second of that battle for second and third. And you can see this is what this guy was all about, having fun. But if you look at those lap times there, Greg, I'm looking from lap 5 down to lap 9 there. 29.2s, 29.3s. That's what eventually was able to spearhead him this victory. Lockoff has got to be over the moon with that second place. You can see Landers strong there at the end of the race as well. Benjamin Smith, nice podium to start the season. A little further back, Diego Perez in his debut with us ends up 5th and Olmedo 6th. Lewin 7th with Luke Power, Angles, and Thermiotis rounding out your top 10.
So there you go. Supersport Next Generation has kicked off in the United States for MotoAmerica. A next generation Ducati wins the race over the next generation Suzuki, and those tried and true Yamaha R6s collect 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. A look at our results as Josh Herrin is going to head his way to victory lane. When we return, we'll get to talk to him about his debut win in 2022.
Safe to say that Josh Herrin can wheelie. Roger Hayden, Robbie Floyd, Roger Hayden in the booth with you. Take it over for the guys during their commercial break. That Ducati looked very strong, and I think one of the things that Greg pointed out just how planted it was. It looked very comfortable doing what it was doing.
Yeah, he looks really good. You know, just through the S's, it looks like the bike does everything well, changes directions, and I think it suits Josh's style quite well too. And for him, the key to the race was just his consistency. He could do the low 29s the whole race, and you know, also a guy to look for was Rocco Landers. Those last 3 or 4 laps, he was running the same pace as Josh Herrin. I'm not sure what happened beginning of the race, but Sam Lockoff, we talked about it all weekend. We've seen him down 8th, 9th place, but that's what makes him, you know, the good guys. They know when it's time to step up, and he definitely stepped up in the counting.
Yeah, that was not a Sam Lockoff type of day, you know, leading into today. But when it came game time, he really, when he dang near, you know, got up in the whole shot, got able to get by Rocco Landers, but again, working his way through the field into second, and gave Josh Herrin that one bobble that really cost him. And honestly, I mean, if I look back at it early on, when I saw Sam Lockoff closing in, I think Lockoff had more motor, more power towards the end of that back straightaway than Josh Herrin did. And I don't know if Josh was giving it full throttle, because I know sometimes they can be a little sneaky there, but it sure did look like he was closing on the top end.
It did, but to really get a good judge of that, you'd have to see him a lot closer. But it definitely looked like Sam Lockoff was making up a lot of time on the straightaway. But you never know unless they're a lot closer. We know the Ducati's quick, but also Sam Lockoff could be getting a good run out of turn 7. But for him to come out here and to get on the podium after the weekend that he had, it was that one mistake that kind of cost him some time. And you know, I think he knew then, hey, it's let's just salvage second place points today and move on.
Yeah, that was a great run by Sam Lockoff, and again, the team, the Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzukis and the GSX-R 70. I thought they were done with that program, but it looks like they're back and back strong. Ben Smith, good run. I know he was looking for that victory, just kind of what you need, another podium and have another chance to do it tomorrow. And he was quick there at the end. I thought he had a shot at Lockoff, so just like Rocco Landers, they both started pushing at the end.
Yeah, he had the pace at the end. You could see he was kind of closing up, just ran out of laps. You know, only 11-lap race. He goes by pretty quick, but for him, I think it's a good start of the year for him, and he'll try to be closer tomorrow.
Jason next door was talking about Diego Perez, and I was impressed with him. I never really noticed until this week. Haven't never noticed that name, and there's a reason. He's a newcomer to the class, but he might be one that we haven't seen that may be in the mix more often. Lewin in the top 10, Luke Power. Max Engels looked better before that restart, finishes 9th, just ahead of Thermieros. So send it back to the guys next door.
Welcome back to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Supersport race number 1 has concluded, and a great run. Let's look at the save of the day, Jason. It's a Geico save of the day, and it's Sam Lockoff.
Yeah, and you can see as he was tipping the bike over that paint, he wasn't at a lot of leaning, and he was trying to increase it as he went over the right. Made him a little bit late for that left, and it got the bike started to spin up a little bit there and move around a lot on him. And but that's good. I mean, I think for Lockoff, he's going to be really happy with this second place to kick off the season as we get to the race results.
So Josh Herrin wins by 3.2 seconds over Lockoff. Benjamin Smith, Rocco Landers in 4th place. He was on a charge, but how about that battle for 5th place? Perez comes out on top over Olmedo and Chad Lewin. Luke Power on the 68 just back there in 8th. Let's get right down to Hannah, who has our winner, Josh Herrin.
Celebrating the first victory for the V2 with his new baby son Griffin is Josh Herrin, and it's your first victory since Road America in 2019. How's it feel?
It feels good. You know, I was bummed that the race got so shortened because I wanted to see what we could do with the whole thing, but it was I got scared there for a little bit. Lockoff was catching me. Tried to put my head down, he still was catching me, and there at the end we were able to pull away a little bit. So I'm stoked for the whole Warhorse HSBK Ducati New York team. I just got to thank everybody that's involved in this program. I've had a rough couple last years. You know, it's been good, been on really good teams, but it's just been mentally hard not winning. I really wanted to come back to Supersport and have a lot of fun because I really like the Supersport class. It's just a ton of fun. It's always been where my heart is. So thank you to Bobby Scheck and the DeNaples and everybody involved for bringing me on board. It's season just getting started, and it's been a dream so far. So it's awesome to have Griffin up here. I know he doesn't know what's going on, but grateful to have him here. Thank you to my wife for flying with him. It's emotional for me, and I'm excited. So thank you to everybody involved. I really appreciate your support. Congrats to Lockoff and Ben. Those guys rode a really good race, and I'm excited for tomorrow.
Congrats to baby Griffin and Josh Herrin. Jamie, let's get over to you.
And for Sam Lockoff, he went with a brand new bike in the first practice session that couldn't even shift gears all the way up to a podium result for you. What was the biggest difference in this performance turnaround?
It was definitely my team. You know, they spent the whole first 2 days working on the bike. We came here with a bunch of unknowns, and you know, I just want to thank M4X or Suzuki, and I just want to say we're gonna keep working. And the 750, man, this thing's crazy, but yeah, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get to the top, and I'm just excited. I want to say well done to Josh, well done to Ben. I'm not sure who was behind, but yeah, it was a tough race. Definitely the heat got to us. I just want to say I want to thank all the fans, but yeah, I also want to thank Vision Wheel. Chris is pointing.
There's certainly a lot to work with here for Sam Lockoff. Congratulations on the second place finish. Let's back to Hannah.
Third place today goes to Benjamin Smith. A podium and a front row start is a fantastic start to the season for you. What was it that was working really well for you out there, Ben?
We've just been going good all weekend. Honestly, we showed up with a well set up bike, and I've been clicking with it ever since we started. I got to give it up to the team, my guys at Northeast Cycle Outlet, Mark Built Race Bikes, John Cook, a track day winner, Arai, Dionysi, my whole crew, my dad, my uncle, my girlfriend for coming out here. Yeah, it's just been a great weekend so far, so we're ready to carry this momentum into tomorrow.
Congrats, Ben. Guys.
All right, so his 17th MotoAmerica podium. Impressive for Benjamin Smith. We'll have more on the other side of this break from Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta as we wrap up Supersport in a moment. Wave to the camera. He has no idea what's going on. But, you know, now with video and the technology, they only have black and white films when I was a kid. But, you know, with this, you can go back and look. And, oh, I remember that day. Yeah, that's awesome. Again, congratulations to Josh Herrin and family. Congratulations to Sam Lockoff. And starting off his year on a positive note, on a good note. His teammate, not so much. Ty Scott going to have to regroup for tomorrow. And speaking of that, and the same thing, and I said that earlier, Roger, with Ben, he has another opportunity tomorrow to show what you got. And you coming out here with a 2-1 or a 3-1, it makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, and also for Sam Lockoff, all the issues they've had the last 2 days now, he and his crew can sit down tonight and really make some changes to the bike to, you know, to make him faster and more comfortable. The last couple of days seems like they're just trying to get things settled to get running, and now they can finally get dialed in on the race setup.
Yeah, I got a question for you. I mean, be honest here, and I have no idea. When I hear them and I'm seeing them, I'm talking to them and everything, why would those teams not go out and do testing prior to this first round? Is it a part supply chain? I mean, everybody can blame stuff on COVID. Why would teams not have gone out and tested?
Well, maybe they have, and maybe the weather, or like you said, maybe parts not getting there late. I'm sure if they had it their way, I think everybody would wish they had 20 days of testing coming into the season, but sometimes that's just not the way it works out.
Team win for Josh Herrin there, #1 for the Ducati at a new power plant in the series, and Josh still repping that helmet. He is fresh and lean and smiling and happy and fun again. He said he's had a rough 2 years, and he's been on good teams. He said that, but he's been missing the winning part.
And the guy accepting the team award, he's collected a lot of those in his day. So it's got to be cool riding for, have that guy on top of the podium with you, all the success and his history. Everybody growing up always looked up to that team.
Not only fast by Faraci, he's fast with Faraci this year, and now we have another Ducati on the top of the box. Danilo Petrucci won't start on pole position. And I asked this question to Josh Hayes. He's like, well, he'll be able to watch and see what these guys do. What if he gets a good start on that Ducati and he's out front and he has to push to try and keep those guys behind?
Yeah, but I think those guys are going to throw their shots at him early.
I think you're going to be right. And again, the MotoAmerica Superbikes at Atlanta. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for helping making this event possible, and we'll talk more about some of those sponsors in a little bit, but we'll get back to the guys next door and get ready for the Superbikes at Atlanta next.
MotoAmerica Supersport coverage is sponsored by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
points for Supersport class. Obviously, this is how they finish in the first race. This is the point system that you have in MotoAmerica. So it gives you a good idea. 25 for a win, 20 and 16 on the podium. And on back until we get to 10th, 11th place. Then it starts to go 1 point down to 15th. Well, podium celebrations getting ready to get underway here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. We certainly hope you enjoyed the coverage of race number 1. We'll be back to do it again tomorrow. And we expect a lot of changes. Race action is going to be awesome. So for Jason Pridmore, Hannah Lopa, and Jamie Howe, Craig White, we'll see you 1 p.m. East tomorrow for race number 2.